Well, hello. I hope you are having an absolutely fantastic day. And as always, really appreciate you taking some valuable time out of that day to spend it here with us. And I always try to really deliver great content to make sure it is worthwhile for you. And today's going to be no exception. Today, we're going to be talking with Udo Erasmus about negotiating your best life, whether oils, peace, and presence. So welcome, Udo. It's great to have you here.
Well, glad to be on. This will be fun.
Yeah, definitely going to be a fun conversation. And for those of you who may not know him, Udo is definitely a pioneering voice on fats, oils, and whole person health. He's probably best known for the best-selling Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill, sold over 250,000 copies. And his new book, which is sort of a revamp of that, is Your Body Needs an Oil Change, which love the new title, by the way. And he blends biochemistry and psychology. So it's different than a lot of the books that you see on health type initiatives. And he does that to help people renegotiate health from the inside out. So obviously a great fit for our Art of Feminine negotiation community here. And as I'm sure you'll hear, there was, after a serious pesticide poisoning in 1980, Udo developed an approach to pressing and packaging oils with health in mind. He's taught at Tony Robbins events. I have tried his stuff at some of Tony Robbins' platinum events. He's been at Deepak Chopra's events, speaking on peace, and generally just sharing practical wisdom on presence, purpose, and peace as daily practices. So this conversation, I think, promises to be a really powerful fusion of science, courage, humility, and peace activism. So a really rare opportunity to explore how someone has consciously negotiated adversity into a life-affirming purpose. So why don't we kick start, Udo? How did your life experiences set the stage for how you negotiate health, purpose, and peace today?
Well, I've never thought of my life as negotiation, but the truth is, you're always in negotiation, if not with someone outside, with yourself on the inside, because a human being is a lot of things. There's an awareness that you are, there's an energy that you are, there's a body that you are, there's a mindset that you are, there's a social creature that you are, there's a member of something that you are, and then you're a speck in an infinite universe.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different levels to you. And then the question to ask is how do I live the best life given all that?
Yes.
So there's going to be a lot of negotiation with yourself, the different parts of yourself
Yeah.
to come to some conclusion of which part of your being you're going to give your priority to.
Yeah.
Right. So how I started, I was born during the Second World War in Poland, which was then part of Germany. We were refugees when I was 2 years old. And the communists were chasing us in tanks and trucks. And the Allies, we like to think of ourselves as the good guys,
Yeah.
now that I'm one of them, right?
Yeah.
But they were shooting at us from planes, using us refugees as target practice.
Jeez.
We were on dirt roads in horse-drawn hay wagons, mothers with young children, no military presence.
Wow.
And so my mother, it was winter. My mother said that it was safer to go across the snow-covered fields on foot
Yeah.
than it was to stay on the road. But she had 6 kids with her. She could only handle 2, so she had to leave 4 of us behind.
Wow. I
Then
did
I ended up
not
in an
know this.
orphanage because she tried to get a stranger farmer that she met where she left us to take us to relatives in Berlin. But they had already all left because there's major chaos at the end of a war. So they were gone. So he ended up in an orphanage, and then they were going to put us on a train to Switzerland if that was possible. And then her sister found out, and she came and found us, dug us out, and reunited us with the family. And I don't remember a lot other than I never felt safe.
Yeah.
And I never knew what I could trust, because every day it was a different story, because in chaos, the stories change really fast, right?
Yeah.
And being hungry. That's what I remember of all of that time. When I was 6 years old, we were in Germany. I listened to people argue, and they argued about really stupid things
Yeah.
that to me at 6 years old seemed really trivial. But they would get so into it,
Yeah.
and it'd be so intense. And it always made me feel uneasy because I was not comfortable with the tension, right?
Yeah.
And at one point, I listened to one or more of these stupid arguments, and a thought came to me, said, man, there must be a way that people can live in harmony.
I
And
love
this little cocky voice of a 6-year-old who doesn't know how complicated everything is, and I'm going to find out how.
Yeah.
And that's been my driver all my life. So that's the
Wow.
negotiation. There's always negotiation. How do you want to live?
Yeah.
And what would it take to live in harmony with yourself? Because that's where it starts.
Yeah.
And then with other people. Because the truth is, biologically speaking, and biology was my love for studies, right? Biologically speaking, we are 8 billion people on this planet are each wired to live content, because
Yeah.
the contentment is a state of being already within us. We just have to go there
Yeah.
instead of being in our head, blah, 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 right? And life energy is unconditional, empowering love for
Yeah.
the body.
Yeah.
So if you think you don't feel loved, you're not paying attention to your life.
Yeah. Well, and we really want to dig in and unpack something. There's so much there, so much to unpack here.
Yeah.
But in particular, I think this is so timely. When you were speaking about even a 6-year-old recognizing how ridiculous the
Yeah.
arguments are. I mean, my gosh, you look at social media today, you look at purported news today, such
Politics.
division, such conflict over stuff
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah.
just like, my gosh. I love that you talked about being a speck in the universe, sort of going through those, because we
Yeah.
certainly just saw that, last night with the meteor showers, I mean, lying there looking up and seeing, I mean, just the infinite universe that's out there. So Udo, you've got an 8-step total sacred health framework, and it spans, well, the thing I love about it is that it spans the physical and the mental and the spiritual realms. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, how do you negotiate integration among those, what most people see as different domains, when life seems to be pulling us in so many different directions? What advice do you have around that?
Yeah. The more hardship you have, the better negotiator you become.
True. That's
Okay.
true.
And I had my share. I had the war, I had the pesticide poisoning, my marriage broke up. Every one of these disasters
Yeah.
became a turning point, because obviously what I was doing wasn't working.
Yeah.
So when something isn't working, yeah, that gets you thinking, what else do I need to know? Or what am I missing? Or, what is there all to know?
Yeah.
And through these steps, because you don't get born and then your parents say, okay, listen, there are 10 parts to you.
Yeah.
First one, the most center one is awareness. You need to know that. The second one is the unconditional love that life has for your body, the life you have that is a fraction of sunshine.
Yeah.
Right? And then that shine into the world, we call that positive mind or inspired purpose.
Hmm.
So if you're looking for purpose, well, the first thing you need to do is negotiate with yourself to get really quiet.
Yeah.
And discover what the hell you got.
Yeah.
Right? You want to have purpose. Well, what are you bringing to the purpose?
Yeah.
Well, you bring in yourself. Well, what are you? And self-knowledge is probably the single most important neglected
Yeah.
part of education.
Yes.
And how do you get to self-knowledge? Well, you have to sit still with yourself.
Yeah.
Because the way you get to know things is you spend time with them, right? If I want to get to know you,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen if I only talk to your neighbors,
Yeah.
right? I just have to spend time with you. If I want to know what this is, I have to spend time with myself, undistracted, quiet, and just be present in the space. And what is there?
And I want to pause there just for a moment, and then I want you
Yeah.
to carry on. This is gold. This is beautiful stuff. And for our listeners, I really want to put a pin in that and challenge you to take time for quiet. We are not a society, in North America in particular, we do not take enough time to allow ourselves to be quiet. And we're constantly distracted. And frankly, when we have a moment of quiet, everybody's scrolling on their phone, doom scrolling with all the negative, talk about the opposite of unconditional love and the
Yeah.
So I really challenge you
Yeah.
to build quiet into your day. So sorry, I wanted to put a pin in that, Udo. So carry on.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And then when you do that, and I came through it, first science, I wanted to know what life is. So I studied biology, but in biology, you don't study life. You study form and function.
Yeah.
But they didn't tell us that.
Yeah.
So then I left biology. I went into psychology. Psychology means study of soul.
Yeah.
I wanted soul. That sounds like something I should know. You don't study soul in psychology. You study beliefs,
Yeah.
thoughts, and emotions.
Yeah.
Then I went into medicine. I wanted to know what health is. They call it healthcare. They don't teach you health. In fact, they don't. I asked the dean. He said, "What is health?" He said, "We don't know. We're working on it." And they're not even working on it because they only study disease.
Yes.
And then I got into psychedelics for a while, and at least you get some experiences. I would say the big insight in that was that I realized, oh my God, everything I've been so studiously looking for out there is actually already present within me. I need to look inside.
Yeah.
And then I got more into the biblical stuff, the red letter edition.
Yeah.
Everything Jesus says is in red ink. Everything else in the Bible is in black ink because I'm 2,000 years late to his party, so I'm trying to get focused. And my question was, what did he feel? What did he experience? Because if he had I was going to say enviable, but that's not the right word, but if he had a life worth emulating, what was that based on? That had to be based on something in him.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know what that is.
Uh-huh.
And so that was kind of like an inward turning question. And this is literally came through talks I had with myself, literally like negotiations.
Yeah.
And so then I checked that out, and I had some really bad experiences with some Christians who were very, very judgmental and mean and nasty and cursed me.
Oh dear.
And then I had an experience of a being made of light with a message that this being embodied. That I could put in word, but there were no words or no labels on it. And who was this? But the message was, I am come not to judge, but to love. Mm. And then it was like, oh, there's the message of the masters to humanity. Yeah. They all said that in one way or another. Yeah. Culturally different in little ways. But it's also the message of life to your body. Your life loves you unconditionally. 24/7, never goes on strike. Even if you say, I hate my life, life loves you unconditionally.
And I want to focus for a moment on that being piece just before we move on, because I know you emphasize that what we focus on becomes our being. And I think we often miss that lesson. And we were talking a minute ago about how in a world that kind of commodifies distraction, how do we, with that inner negotiation, that mindset negotiation, reclaim that presence and inner peace?
And that is really, talking about negotiating, that is the important question. And the answer to that question is heartache. Heartache. Yeah. What is that? Heartache. I have never met a person who doesn't know what heartache is. Yeah. And heartache is triggered by tons of things. Somebody dumped you in a relationship, heartache, right? Grandmother dies, you were close to her, heartache. Yeah. Same feeling in the same place in your chest. Yeah. Triggered by your dog ran away, somebody betrayed you. You expected something and your expectation was disappointed. And so we have lots of words for that feeling in your chest. It's an uneasy feeling. But the trigger is not the cause of that feeling. That feeling actually is caused by your disconnection from yourself after you were born, where your focus goes out through your senses into the world, because you got to get to know it to survive in it. But when you were in your mother's womb, there was no place to go and everything was taken care of and there was, nothing to do, right? And so you were in deep meditation, in peace, and in that unconditional love. Yeah. And then your disconnection from that is where heartache begins. And heartache is, what is the function of heartache? Lawyers got to have functions, right? Yeah. What's the purpose of heartache? Well, if you boil it down to its essence, heartache is the call for you to bring your focus back home into life, into peace. Yeah.
And you
that are the core of your being.
Thirst of the heart, which I love. And again, like that
thirst of the heart. Yeah.
The stillness and the thirst of the heart, and how foundational that is. So just while you're speaking about that heart and heartache, I'm wondering, do you have a current, I call it negotiation, you may call it mindset practice or whatever, but that allows you that deeper purpose to lead? Anything that you could pass on to our listeners?
So the names for it: longing, striving, restlessness, emptiness, loneliness, blues. So there's lots of different words for it. I like thirst of the heart because, thirst makes water relevant to you. And hunger makes food relevant to you. If you're not hungry, who cares? You have a food fight, right? Yeah. Okay. And tired makes sleep relevant. Well, thirst of the heart makes peace relevant. Yeah. And that's and it's the greatest gift you've been given, even though you don't like that gift, right? It's uncomfortable. But
Yeah.
it's the greatest gift life gave you other than being alive.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for heartache taking you out of your head and putting you into your body and putting you that close to reconnecting with the love you are and the peace that you are in your individual and universal essence,
Yeah.
if it wasn't for that heartache, you would never, ever find your way home after you got lost.
Yeah.
So how cool, how powerful is that?
Yeah.
So then I say, okay, so don't look for heartache because it happens every day, right?
It's there.
So, but when you get it, instead of distracting yourself from it or ignoring it or denying it or trying to rationalize yourself, go back into your head,
Yeah.
or blaming it on somebody, no, sit with it.
Yeah.
You can't blame any, sit with it and sit with it quietly and just feel it. And you might have some tears,
Yeah.
you know, but just stay with it and stay with it and stay with it and accept it and embrace it. And maybe even be grateful for the fact that it's bringing you home.
Yeah.
Right.
It's gorgeous.
And then, and so I was doing that. Started for me when I was 17. I couldn't shake it. And what people like to do mostly distraction or blame.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, it's those immigrants. And so it's like, well, it's always something, right?
Yeah.
Or I'll go dance. I'll take a movie. I'll see if I can get laid.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
Anything, just anything except. Because when I sit with myself, I feel the heartache, I'm restless and I don't like the feeling. And so I find a way to distract myself.
Nice.
And that in that way, then that's a really bad negotiation.
Yeah.
Right? Because what you've just done is you've taken the greatest power for bringing you the greatest life that is possible. And you've just trivialized it.
Yeah.
Do not trivialize heartache. Heartache is so important.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, I love how you
And then-
talk about it bringing you home. I think that's such a beautiful reframe.
Yeah, because ultimately the negotiation is to bring you home into the magnificence of your existence.
Yeah. That's lovely.
Right? And so I was doing that, and I was trying to figure it out, and the psychedelics were part of that, and then reading the Bible was part of it. And then I had this experience that gave me like a hit of what that life is like. I told you that, that this being made of light, I am come not to judge, but to love, right? So I got a hit, and then became a memory, and I was like, damn it, I want to live in that experience.
Yeah.
And that question took me to a kid who said, the peace you search for in the world is within you, and I can reveal you that peace. And he showed me a stillness practice. He calls it self-knowledge, that I thought was too simple, and I didn't think a 14-year-old could teach me much because I was already 30 at that point, right? But I started doing it because I promised I would give it a fair chance. So I said, I'll give it 6 months. He suggested an hour. I couldn't sit still longer than 5 or 10 minutes at that point. And I would just do the 5 or 10 minutes, and I would feel different. And I'd look at the argument I got into because I hadn't done that. And I realized when I do the practice before the argument, I don't rise to the bait. So it settled me inside. And then after 6 months, I said, okay, this actually works. So I've been doing it for 53 years.
Wow.
And pretty much every day before I get out of bed, I will do the practice. And I sometimes joke. I say, when I wake up, I want to check in to see if I'm still there, because if I'm not there anymore, no point in getting out of bed. But seriously, I like to start my day that way, because in that place is the peace, in that place is the love. In the love, I discover the shine, the inspiration, and then my day goes really well. Even if I never had an experience in that hour that I took, my day still goes better. It's better organized. I don't retrace my steps because I forgot something. And it just and it puts me in a calm place. Like, I think that probably when you're really in touch with yourself, then your dominant emotion will be kind of like calm presence or serene passion, or, equanimity is a fancy word for it, right? And when you have that, then something comes at you, you don't immediately fly off the handle and react to it. Something comes at you, and you get to look at it and say, okay, well, how do I want to respond to this? You can walk from it. You can say nothing. because you don't have to, but when we're not in a calm place, we just react from survival.
Yeah.
And most of the time when we do that, we actually escalate the problem instead of fixing it.
Yeah.
When there's psychological issues, right? To do that homework, I call it the homework, the work you do at home, to be present in my space, and then bring that out into the world with me.
Now, could we do that in
And
smaller increments? Like, let's say we have listeners who are feeling overwhelmed now. Is there a 5 minute sort of daily oil change ritual or like a small negotiation with self that they could do that will move the needle for them on energy, mood, or focus? Or
sure. In fact, if you're really, really busy and you can't take time, well, you have to go pee once in a while,
yeah,
okay? So when you're on the toilet, you don't have to pay attention what's going on there because that's pretty much automatic biologically, right? So while you're sitting on the can, just breathe a nice, slow, deep breath. And maybe you can even have 2 of them, or maybe even 3. Or maybe you like it so much that when you're finished with your business, you want to sit another 5 minutes, right? So the point is, even just one breath, like if you really focus on just one breath and you really focus on it,
yeah,
you're completely out of your head, you're completely out of your reactive mode, and you're into something that is settled,
yeah. And if I could
present,
com
peaceful. Yeah,
Yeah, and I want for our listeners to really think about that, not just as sort of a morning routine or a daily ritual, but the
yeah,
advice that Udo just gave is such great advice. Even if you are in a negotiation, and by that, I don't care whether it's with your intimate partner or your kids or
yeah,
friends or family, if you're in a conversation that's potentially charged and you feel you're about to get into that reactive mode, take the advice Udo just gave.
take
Just take that moment to take
take
a
a breath.
breath and
Yeah,
ground yourself and be fully present in that
yeah.
moment, and it'll change the dynamic of it.
Yeah.
And
Here. Let me give one. Let me give one. We drive a lot. We're in rush hour traffic. We in jobs like everybody experiences, and people get really nasty,
yeah,
and they lean on their horn, and But you know what? When you're stuck in traffic, you actually are not having to pay attention to the road, and you're not doing
yeah,
brake and gas pedal, right?
yeah,
And you're not doing steering wheel, so you're stuck. Just take a deep breath because you have to breathe anyway.
yeah.
Just focus on it, right? Same, you see, you're in a lineup to check out your groceries.
Yeah,
People, oh, come on, bring some more people. What do you think? I got shit to do, right?
yeah,
You're sitting in the lineup. You still have to breathe.
yeah.
Just take a deep breath and just feel what it feels like to be in your body. So you can literally interrupt anything that's going on
Yeah. And
for
that'll
one
change
breath.
the outcomes for our listeners of your outer, when you cultivate peace, that sort of inner negotiation that Udo's been talking about, it can
Yeah.
change the outcomes of your outer negotiations at work, at home, in business, professionally, personally, across the gambit. So, now you
Yeah,
spoke.
of course. So if you're in a negotiator on the outside and you don't like the deal, you say, "You're an idiot." That's probably not helpful to
Yeah.
an good outcome of that negotiation, right?
Yeah.
By saying, but if you say, "Wow, that's really interesting. I have never heard anybody say that before,"
Yeah.
and it's light, you keep it light.
Yeah. Now, you've spoken about peace at Deepak
Yeah,
Chopra's events, as we spoke about. And I mean, what you've just described, I would call that a gorgeous sort of micro practice where people can renegotiate reactivity during conflict. Do you have any other micro practices like that that you think would help people
Uh,
peace?
well, it always, it always comes back to, okay, so, and it's like be like a little kid.
Yeah.
Okay. So you close your eyes, you say, okay, how still can I get? Right? It's like we kid do that when we play hide and seek as
Yeah.
kids, right? So we actually do that, right? And we know how to do that.
Yeah.
We just have to want to do that,
Yeah.
right? This is my instruction. How still can I get?
Yeah.
And okay, how deeply can I go into that stillness?
Yeah.
And how long can I hang out there?
Nice.
And how lightly, evenly, slowly, deeply can I breathe?
Mm.
And when I do that, what do I notice in the space I occupy? Right? And then it's, what are you going to see? You can actually see something, you can hear something, you can feel something, because there's presence
Yeah.
in you, but you have to bring your focus to the presence to experience it.
Yeah.
It's always where you put the focus, right? Where you put the focus, that becomes your reality. If it's always out there, your reality is always changing, because out there is the world of change.
Yeah.
In here is a world of peace that never changes. When you cultivate that, you become peaceful, not a carpet peaceful,
Yeah.
but powerful
Yeah.
peaceful, right? And people are attracted to that, because there is something in every human being that is dying for peace,
Yes.
even on the battlefield,
Yeah.
right? And that peace is there. It's built into us. It's built into every warrior,
Yeah.
And when you feel it, you don't need a war.
Yeah. And it can be
When you,
contagious, right? When you
yes,
embody that peace in a conflict situation or a potentially difficult discussion, even, and you maintain that peace, even in the face, whether you're, for our listeners, if you're dealing with a bully or a narcissist or somebody,
yeah,
it allows that peace to sort of
yeah.
transfer almost, or be accepted or absorbed by the other party. And
I mean, the peace that you feel goes out to infinity,
yeah,
right? It affects other people. It affects situations.
yeah,
And almost everything is done better in peace than in stress.
yes. Oh,
Almost everything.
and what a beautiful message today. Again, I
Yeah,
encourage our listeners out there, when everybody is becoming so certain about the correctness of their position, that we don't
yeah, yeah,
listen anymore. We don't allow peaceful moments. We don't allow room for different perspectives, or to flip our perceptions of how we're seeing things and being open to
yeah,
them. So
yeah,
now, I can't believe how quickly our time has gone by here. I could talk to you forever. You're such a
yeah.
beautifully deep thinker. I normally like to end by asking, what's one of the greatest mindset shifts that you've had in your life? Doesn't have to be about anything we've talked about. It could be anything where you had that aha moment, Udo.
I would say when I first, well, the one I already told you about. I am come not to judge but to love. Like, there's a standard to live by.
Yeah.
That is like the standard of life to live by. Okay, so that was one of them. But the other one was when I did my LSD experience. That was in 1964, I think. And I think this is why I want to present that. Is it was so clear to me that what I was looking for is already within me.
Yeah.
So whenever whenever you're going through your life and you lose it, just remember the peace is not affected by your outburst. It's still peaceful in there. And the love is still there. And the inspiration is still there. And so if you get that sometimes when you're overwhelmed, there's also something that's not overwhelmed in you. And you can literally go from one to the other. Give the overwhelm some attention, because you may need to do something. But make sure you keep the overwhelm in balance with the peace.
Yeah.
And give each their appropriate amount of energy. And if you give the peace more energy, overwhelm will become more manageable, and it will happen less often.
Yeah.
And that's just because, why is that? Because you are you have all of everything in you. So pick and choose and do a negotiation with yourself
Yeah.
to say, what's the best life I could live? Well, in peace and in health and in harmony. And by the way, that those reverse aging, and you age more slowly, so you end up with a longer life and a healthier life as well.
Nice. And what a powerful mindset shift that is. I mean, and again, for our listeners, I really want to put a pin in that for you, that
Yeah.
everything you need is already within.
And I have one request of you, Cindy.
Yes, of course.
I would like you to get this message out to 8 billion people.
Yeah, I would love that. I will gladly take up that challenge. I cannot promise you I will achieve it, but I will do my damn best to try.
Call Elon.
Yes.
Tell him to disseminate it globally over a satellite system.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful. And again, just circling back to that for our listeners, because the more I'm thinking about it as you're saying it, Udo, the fact that everything is inside of us already, we spend so much of our time, and we're conditioned looking for external validation, looking for extra to get our, we want to convince everybody else of it. We're looking. if you spent a fraction of the time that you spend currently, my guess is looking externally for your validation or for your,
Yep.
and turn that internal, recognizing that
Yeah.
you have what you need inside of you. What a game.
Yeah.
So where can people learn more about you? Where should we direct them, Udo?
Okay, yeah. Well, I think the most important thing is not to get in touch with me, but to get in touch with yourself,
Nice.
right? But udoerasmus.com, it's a website, and I'm on Facebook, and I have a YouTube channel, and you know, these days I'm trying to turn total health into a teachable field based in nature and human nature, but all of it, not just food and fitness,
Yeah,
right?
beautiful.
And turn human nature into a teachable field because we've been here for 200,000 years. We've never
Yeah,
done that with either of them.
yeah,
Isn't it about time?
yeah,
And we're wrecking ourselves
yeah,
because we're not doing the homework.
yeah,
And that is the homework.
absolutely.
So that's what I'm working on now. And it's like, and I love that I get to do it, by
Well,
the
we
way.
can't wait for the next chapter. So you'll have to
Yeah.
stay in touch and let us know when you've got sort of your next
Yeah.
installment so we can share. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and your wisdom
Yep.
and putting it in terms that I think are so easy to understand. Thanks for joining us, Udo.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, and for our listeners there, make sure to subscribe. As always, give the gift of sharing. Share this episode. My goodness, this messaging is so important for all of us today, for ourselves, and for how we show up in the world. And before we sign off, if this episode lit a fire in you and you're ready maybe to start negotiating for your bigger, best life, feel free to reach out and check out. I've got one-on-one group, online programs. I've got you covered. And let's tap into that so-called feminine power of yours and start getting you more of what you want and deserve without apology. And if that sounds interesting, check it out at artoffemininenegotiation.com. Make sure to grab a copy of my book of the same name if you have not done that yet, The Art of Feminine Negotiation. And that's a wrap for this episode. So now go renegotiate the life that you thought you had to settle for. And remember that every moment is a negotiation. So choose presence, choose power, choose purpose. And I like to think this isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. And you can be part of something bigger now. You are part of something bigger. And together we can redefine power, one conversation, one negotiation at a time. Join the movement and lead the change and lead with heart, negotiating like the powerful force of nature you are. Because feminine doesn't mean weak, it means unstoppable. So until next time, take care.